Hey everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. Holy hell! It's the patience of Job. You know what I'm saying? This stream brought to you by Club Verde, the nectar of the gods. Monk, good to see you. There is Reese. How are you, relatable Reese? Chickacherry Cola, good to see you. Roberta, what's happening? Hey Jody. Hey Carmela. Edward, good to see you. Roberta, I am glad that you are here. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Cindy G. Boy, oh boy, people, it takes patience sometimes. The issue is that half of St. Helena province is underwater. So they run these pumps at night to try to get everything under control. And we get kicked off. However, it's never at the same time. They will tell you that if it's going to go off, it goes off at 10, and then they will knock it out at 8. It's always 1 hour to whack, except 1 hour usually turns into an hour in 10 minutes. And I said to Reese, go in there and tell them it's over. And then, boom, the lights came back on. So, listen, if you saw the thumbnail, that's as good as I can do to not do clickbait. I hope you were all very happy with that. And what I said was, there is new evidence. However, doesn't mean a hill of beans if you want to know the truth. 200 of you in here, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. I just saw somebody in here from Nevada. Look at you looking all fantastic and green, Jason. You look great. Michael, thank you for sending money to me on PayPal. I really appreciate that. Hold on one second. Nevada. I have to ask, are you in northern Nevada or are you in southern Nevada? Are you in the 775 or are you in the 702? Alicia, look at you. I'm glad that you are here. Locke, how are you? On lunch, can't stay long. Well, milk that clock. We're not mad at you. Right? Wouldn't be the first time. Clock it. Right? So the big news that everybody is running with right now is that there is this new lead. There is new evidence. Would you like me to supersize the nothing burger? I think that that's appropriate. I absolutely think that that's appropriate. And I watched Nancy Grace tonight. Somebody please thank me for that. I'm kidding. Nancy's fantastic. I'm not picking on Nancy Grace. Yeah, well, I can't stand it. I can't back that up. I tried, but they would have seen the disingenuousness in my face. Here's the thing about her. What's a bummer is every day it's always this big new deal, right? And she'll go, breaking news, day 37. Okay, that's not breaking news. Day 37 is day 37. There is a northern Nevada. Listen to you, Chef Brian. Chef Brian thinks he's funny. Hey, good time to become a member. You look fantastic in green, and it's going to pay off because this is actually the week to be a member. We're going to be doing several members-only chats this week that gives you a little bit less. 775. I was in the 775. When I went to prison, I went behind what they call an 048 number. That is the designation for the state of Nevada. In the actually the entire state is 048. But she's hilarious. She is hilarious. But she was talking about the green boxes. Mop, good to see you, Mop Man. Rather clean a toilet than listen to Nancy Grace. You know what, Mop Man? My wife said to me last night, she said, you know what? Mop's funny. I really like him. I said, Mop is a really good dude. And it's comments like this that really just sort of hit it out of the park because that's a good one. I believe it's only a matter of time before this case breaks open. I agree with you, by the way. I absolutely agree with you, by the way. Lady O, I'm glad that you are here. And for all of you that were over watching my wife earlier, you don't have to thank me because I know that you're in your mind right now. You're going, Tommy's right. I should have gone over and subscribed to Reese a long time ago. Hi, Tommy Reese and Johnny the Scoville. Yeah, perfect. The Johnny Scoville. Brian Ensign's interview with the neighbor. Her sister had odd interactions. FBI and PC. FBI showed up, but nothing felt off. She called 911. Pima County out said not FBI. Next day, she got a call from Pima County that it was FBI there. Yeah, that was confusing as hell. But Nancy Grace was talking tonight about the outdoor Yes, I did hear that, Vicky Hunter. That's what we were just talking about. Nanos is a piece of work. But see that? I'm telling you, man, I get thanked all of the time. 775. I really do. If FBI needed more clues, they would release more. Interesting. But the green boxes that bring in all of the fiber optic. Nancy Grace had on a couple of people, and they have to create an hour of content. I don't, right? I can knock this thing out in 25 minutes if I run out of things to talk about. But they have to create an hour of content. So a guy came on, and I love the guy. You know, she says, this is a man who is absolutely more experienced in death scenes than anybody on planet Earth. This guy has had 3,000 death scenes. Think about that for a second. That's 10 years of working a death scene almost every single day. That is absolutely unbelievable, right? It really is. That is an unbelievable thing. However, it's really wild to me that the next question out of her mouth was, what do you think about the cable box? Well, I don't know. You're a death scene expert. Maybe, I mean, we can all weigh in, but it's weird to build somebody up as being the world's foremost expert on death scenes and then say, let me ask you about something that is just not in your wheelhouse. And he said there are a lot of people that steal copper. By the way, there are a ton of people that steal copper. Dog was acting weird at 2 a.m. behind Nancy's. Yeah, I believe that too, because someone was going into the house at that time. I'll bet you that they did start to go off about that. I bet that the dogs were going nuts. Yeah, Texas Red. The neighbor also saw someone skulking around on January 11th. And I would imagine that that's what put the cops onto, we want to see what's going on at the 11th, because it doesn't make sense that they would say it's all about the 11th. And by the way, we can't pull any metadata off of the cameras. They didn't get that 11th date from there. And I've been saying that on here forever. There had to be something else that put them onto the 11th. And I'm guessing that that's what it was. But as far as stealing copper goes, this is big business for drug addicts, right? You can go into old abandoned houses and steal copper piping. Copper has a fixed value that you can go and bring to a redemption center. And there are a lot of junkies, both heroin and particularly methamphetamine, that this is an industry, right? This is literally a crime industry. Hey, Punisher, of people that go out and steal copper. They're not getting any of it out of one of those green boxes. And they're also not stealing copper that is instantly going to tell everyone in the neighborhood that the copper was stolen. It was an absolutely awful take. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but that stuff's fiber optic. Even if it were copper, which it's not, because they're not pushing that kind of information through copper. They're putting it through really fine little like glass-like fiber optic cables, which they can move ungodly amount of information on very quickly. The wires inside that box, they actually showed us a picture of the outside of the box. With it open. And those wires are hair thin. Those are fiber optic. They are not copper. And some of the theories about this were really, you need a lot of phone copper. You need miles of phone copper. That's usually not what they're going after. Two morons here tried to steal copper from the high school. They just forgot to turn off the power and got zapped. If you knew how many times that happens a year, it's incredible. They also like to break in, like to the people that do this, the holy grail, literally the holy grail, is to break into the power company because there are spools with massive amounts of copper on it. Question, haven't been paying attention lately since the war stuff is happening. What is the latest? Real quick, any suspect? Not that they're telling us about, but I'll bet you the farm they're closing in. I really believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that they're closing in on this. I believe an arrest is imminent. I think we're getting on to that time. But fiber optics are made of glass, correct, Jeffrey P. Jordan. It is a very hair-thin. I actually, believe it or not, in the feds, got trained a little bit on fiber optic. Not because I was going to do it when I got out, but because it got me out of being a prisoner. You know, for 4 or 5 hours a day, I got to go train on this stuff, and I actually worked in Phoenix, Arizona. They were doing fiber optic work out of FCI Phoenix before they traded off and started doing wiring, and I left at that point because I didn't want to do it. People get trapped in, getting copper. It happens all the time. It kills a lot of people. It really, really is. 4 people? You only need 4 people? People, if you've not hit subscribe to my wife's channel, you need to get over there and smack it. She needs 4 people, people.
I need 10.
Johnny Scoville needs 30, he said, quickly. Chase the heat, Johnny Scoville. You might want to check that out. What do they do once they have the definitive proof and need to keep it quiet? Well, they keep it quiet as much as possible. And usually people don't want to leak anything that's going to tip these people off, right? There is allegedly an abandoned house down from her. There is a house that maintenance was being done on or they were refurbishing. There are no abandoned houses that I've ever seen in the Catalina foothills. I'm not saying it's Beverly Hills, but for that part of the country, it's Beverly Hills. And you don't run into a lot of abandoned houses in the Catalina foothills. Anytime somebody wants to get away from one, there's somebody that is ready to buy it. Do you think the perp looks cool or is meant to look cool? I heard a retired detective bring this up. I don't even know how to answer that. I don't know that the perp looks particularly cool to me other than relaxed, right? Nursykins said, relatable Reese, I subbed. Love that. We're closing in on it. Annie and Neckbeard's car has not been returned yet, and I can verify that out of my own mouth. That's what I spent the afternoon doing. Anyone here, the sheriff's getting sued for $1 million? Yeah, that's a stone cold fact. Now, before anybody gets too excited about that, Roberta, thank you. Before anyone gets too excited about that, he's being sued by an inmate. And at any given time, the sheriff is probably being sued by multiple inmates. The guy that runs the Department of Corrections is being sued. The governor, it'll say et al. You're familiar with this on lawsuits. I'm suing Johnny Scoville et al. That means everybody that could have anything to do with it. They'll list the captain, like if it's in the federal system, they'll list the warden, the captain, the cop that messed with you. They'll list the head of the Bureau of Prisons, the head of the Department of Justice, and they'll go all the way up to the Attorney General because all of that is over the Department of Justice. So don't get too wrapped up in that $1 million lawsuit. There are other lawsuits that are against him right now, and I covered them in an earlier show, and those are a little bit more legit. Jen VX said she also hit the subscribe button. Do sheriffs have immunity? No, not technically. They absolutely can be sued. Is anything going to come of it? No chance. I'm a new sub here. I love listening to you. What a kind thing to say, Nursykins. I appreciate that. So there's nothing that's going to come of this cable box. And they're bringing in the FBI's very specific unit, and we run into them all of the time in the feds. If you've got a tattoo, and they will take pictures of your tattoo up and down because they're looking to see if I hid any lightning bolts in this. Or as a white guy, it would be lightning bolts. It would be the symbol of the SS, right? These are all very racist symbols. The numbers 14 and 88 come back to be white gang stuff. It's the 14 words that all white people are supposed to memorize. It's some racist bullshit. And 88 is alphanumeric, right? Take the 8th letter of the alphabet, that would be H. You do it twice, and it's that Zeke Heil stuff, right? Heil Hitler. So these things end up all throughout, and they're looking for that stuff. And they have an entire division of the FBI whose only job is to look at, it does smell like John Benet Royce. You're right. They look for graffiti, right? People who tag gang stuff, and they look for tattoos of people that tag gang stuff. What if your birthday is 1/8/88? Well, then you're just racist, and your parents knew this was coming. They could have had you on the following day, but they probably wear white hoods and burn crosses. I promise you. There was a really great lawsuit a few years back where they wanted to stop a person who had named their daughter Adolf Hitler's child or some absolutely ridiculous hating name. I'm going to Vegas for 8 days. I will make sure Nancy didn't get amnesia and escape to Vegas and get addicted to Huff and Puff. That's the spirit. May I make a suggestion? Check the 2-deck or the 1-deck shoes where they're playing blackjack on a 1 or a 2-deck table. No reason to check the 6 deck. She won't be there. What's that? I don't think they do a 1-deck. That's right. C-section a day early. They do 1 and 2 decks if you have to ask for them. They also have player advantage tables, which are 1 and 2 deck, and you can double down on the first 2 cards, regardless of whether or not they are a 7 or a 11 or a 7, which is rare. If you look at Breaking Bad, it's about a white guy clearing out all the Latin competition. It is. It absolutely is. I'm 74, not 1 tattoo. Catty Cat, you got time, right? Don't be silly. Get out there and get your lifeboat tattoo. You'll never regret it. I'm only saying that because one of the biggest haters that has ever hated my channel has a lifeboat tattoo about that big, which I just think is so funny. I don't know if anyone has brought this up, but maybe after the guy on camera removed the camera, he drove his car up the driveway and then went to take Nancy out. Well, the problem with that, because that makes a hell of a lot of sense, but the problem with that is we do have a timetable, right? We do have a timetable. And let me see if I can do this from memory. I probably need to look it up. But every once in a while. At 9:48, the garage door opens. At 9:50, the garage door closes. 1:47, the door cam disconnects, right? 13 minutes later, there's a spike. So to walk far enough away and bring the car up, maybe 13 minutes. I would imagine you would want to park at a decent clip away. It does look like he has a walkie-talkie in his pocket. If I were going to be doing this crime, I don't think I would have wanted to have to do all of that, but it very well could be. You 100% could be right.
She was just a pig who wanted a tattoo.
Yeah, she really was. Johnny just said something really funny about that girl. I won't say it out loud because the timetable, I believe, is BS in my opinion. I can understand why you would say that. It is currently all that we have to go on. I do believe that at 2 a.m. her pacemaker spikes, and I do believe that at 2:28 the pacemaker disconnects from the phone. I absolutely believe that, right? Because those tend to be a little bit more accurate. And a lot of people left questions on my last live stream. So let me see if I can explain this. Your pacemaker is not like your phone. This thing has a really kick-ass battery, and I still got to charge it a couple of times a day, right? That's just how these things work. So unlike this, you're talking about a really, really small battery. I mean, small output. The battery lasts 15 years because it's not doing everything that this phone does. This phone does all kinds of crap, but I got to charge it constantly. So this can reach out to towers. This in the pacemaker is going to reach out to this. And then this is going to reach out to the towers. Or a watch, right? A smartwatch. In the case of Nancy Guthrie, allegedly, this was a smartwatch. So what happens is when she gets 40 feet away from that watch, it disconnects. You follow me? So once that disconnects, we do have that as a timeline. If not date stamp on the pics, how do we know disconnect time and that she didn't have because that's not from a camera. That is from her smartwatch. We didn't have metadata on the cameras. And the reason we don't have it is not because they don't put it there. It's because she didn't pay for a subscription. So that got dumped into a big old virtual dumpster. And Google has been scraping off every layer of the inside of that dumpster until they get to something that looks like her front door. I mean, literally, that's kind of how it went down. So it will dump all that over, but it won't do the metadata that's on the bottom of it. That gets erased when everything gets dumped into that dumpster of shite. She left the front door, no jammer. They entered the back door. 3 people were involved. I tend to agree with you. And I'm also 100% willing to admit I could be way off. However, I only can view this from what I know in my life. And what I know in my life, sadly, is people that rob stuff, people that do things like this. I was very well connected with a lot of those lowlifes over the course of my life. And there's no way anyone I know would have done this alone. I just don't believe that doesn't make sense. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it doesn't make sense. And that's all I'm doing is playing the numbers. Kentucky Mama, I saw a video where a pacemaker only get alerts every 24 hours. That was told by a nurse on here doing an interview, allegedly. I have spoken to 2 doctors that install these, and I asked that question word for word. And what he said was they update to the hospital 24 hours. I mean, once every 24 hours. However, anything that happens on your ticker is going to go to that watch in real time. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have known about the spike at 2 a.m. And we wouldn't have known that she disconnected, right? We would have had to wait. The 24 hours is when that base alerts the hospital. It goes to like a mainframe kind of a thing, if that makes sense. Tommaso has been absent from school for 5 weeks now. If they had money issues, who do you think is supporting them, and how long until you're a burden? That's a great question, isn't it? That is a really great question. These people do have lives, but I think that the school's probably really happy to not have him there. And this, fair or not, there are a whole lot of people. Yeah, 212 software detects person on camera, not a pacemaker spike. But then who is the person and which camera, not explained. No, there is a pacemaker spike, right? This has been reported ad nauseum. So there absolutely was a pacemaker spike. If Nancy did have a safe, what kind of equipment would be needed to open it? And could that be in the backpack? It depends on what kind of safe. If you bought that safe from Home Depot, you ever seen those fire safes from Home Depot? I can get into one with a claw hammer in about 15 minutes. That is just a really thin piece of metal, and it has concrete that they pour in between the metal. So if you tear a hole in the front of it, right near the lock, all you got to do is chip out that concrete. It is very easy to get into those. If it is a real safe, you're talking about way more than 40 minutes, and you're going to need a diamond tip drill bit. You're going to need a device that literally locks itself to the wall. You're not holding a drill like this. And the really high dollar ones, if you try to drill it out, they have what they call a glass pack inside of it. And if you crack that glass, the thing automatically puts a bolt in that locks the 8 bolts that go on the outside, and you ain't getting in. You're literally going to have to dynamite that rascal, or you're going to have to go at it with a cutting torch. You can do it faster with a cutting torch, but it would have left behind a whole lot of evidence. And allegedly, nothing was taken. Isn't Dominic Evans a teacher also? That has been reported. I don't know if it's true or not. Being the front nut, being so calm could have been high or something else. Yeah, and honestly, you see a guy bend down and pick up flowers as a way to pull that off. I mean, if you took all of the time to pack that backpack, you didn't put a friggin' screwdriver in it. Like, that to me seems absolutely remarkable, right? You take a screwdriver to anything you're doing in crime, right? You just take a screwdriver. Said it before, we're getting all fetishy, dark. The background could have had an empty container in it. The backpack could have had an empty container in it, ready to hold body part or organ. Well, the guy that absolutely, I don't think you're going to steal an organ from an 84-year-old woman. By way of full disclosure, they're not trying to buy organs off of somebody that's about to die. I'm not trying to sound like an ass, but that's just the truth. You'd like it from somebody that's maybe in their 20s or 30s. However, they absolutely could have had a tarp in there. And I heard somebody who I put a lot of faith in say that they do believe that it was a nasal thing, but that it wasn't dripping out. They believe it was a kind of a thing, right? And it's expectorant kind of a thing. And when that happened, she would have had to have been about that far from the ground, which lends credence to all the people that think it might have been a tarp with a couple of people carrying her out. If it was a tarp, one person ain't carrying 150 pounds in a tarp. No chance on God's green earth. But there is very likely a chance that it could have been 2 people carrying her out in a tarp, that she was incapacitated. Maybe they punched her in the face. Maybe they did whatever to her. Maybe that was a crack to the back of the head that was bleeding. But this person believes that was her expectorating blood out through the nasal cavity. I always said I kind of liked it as a bloody nose because it looked to me, I've had a lot of bloody noses. I've been punched in the face way too much. Get a look at this thing. I think I was born with that. I've never seen anyone interact with viewers like you do. It's like you're sitting in our living room. Well, could you maybe sit in my living room? I'm not that welcome in that part of the world. I'm kidding, people. I could go back. I just don't necessarily want to. I was in Walmart the other day and decided to look for that backpack. And without a doubt, same backpack, the reflectors on it, which if I was a criminal, I'm not going reflectors, just me though. No criminal I've ever met wants a reflector on him. You don't want to look like a crossing guard from elementary school. That's a bust. It's not something that you want. I was shocked by that. 0 chance people need 2 assists in a nursing home. Picking up 150 pounds is hard, to be sure. You're going to need a couple of people. You are. Especially if they're in a tarp. You're talking about a very ungangly kind of or a very gangly kind of a situation. It's not easy to carry 150 pounds. If 150 pounds is a dumbbell, right, and you put it in a tarp, it's going to be hard. Incognito says what everyone else is thinking. Can't listen to Nancy Grace. She's scary and shrill and scary. Ashley Banfield is starting to say dumb things. It's unfortunate. I had to drop some logic in Vinnie Politan's comments earlier too. Vinnie Politan made a deal with the devil. I'm sorry. I love Vinnie. I really do. I love all of his work. I think he's very talented. But how is it that cat hasn't gotten any older? Look at everyone that was on Court TV. Yeah, look at everybody that was on Court TV the same time as Vinnie Politan. All of them have aged, and he hasn't. He looks like Dorian Gray, for God's sake. Anybody get that literary reference? Yeah, well played. Johnny Scoville got it. Can't stand Vinny. I like Vinny. I really do. However, he's not getting any older, and that always creeps me out. Nancy Grace is hard to listen to.
Hard to look at.
Did they scope out the house the first time to make sure she slept with her sliding door open? Maybe broke through the screen. Someone knew her sleeping behavior. I'll tell you something, and I'm not trying to say anything that's going to help people become criminals. But if your sliding door isn't brand new, right? Sliding doors are a terrible thing from a security standpoint. And the reason for that is what locks them is you have a post or you have a hole, one or the other. But there's a hook that goes in and goes like this. And all of those sliding glass doors have about 1.5 inches that you can move them up and down. They sit within a track. If you put your hands against them and you lift them up and slide them, the lock is absolutely worthless. The newer ones don't do that. They've gotten very good at it. French doors too. If you have French doors, right? So if you have that sliding glass door, take a stick, a dowel, and cut it to the length of the inside of the track and put it in there. That way, if somebody lifts it up, they still can't slide it. See, now I'm doing it from the other side of this, right? Tommy, did you say the family didn't do lie detectors? No, I have never said that. I have said that they won't tell us whether or not they took them. And in every other case, they're quick to come out and say, we have eliminated them as suspects because they took a polygraph. I was a total Court TV watcher until I found The Boat. Love your show, Tommy. Well, thank you, Jody. Maybe got the backpack with reflectors out of Lost and Found at school. Yeah, or maybe that's not a bad call. Or maybe at a, 34-inch stick, Monk knows. Or buying it at a, what the hell is the name of those stores? Thrift stores. Like a Goodwill, right? Those, if I buy a bag, if I buy a suitcase, anything like that, I always look at Goodwill before I go anywhere else. What's that?
Remember we got an 8 at Goodwill?
Yeah, you know what's sad? I said to Johnny Scoville, I'm like, I want to buy a shirt and I want to stop by and check it out at Goodwill. And he goes, oh, man, if we go to Goodwill, someone's going to recognize me. And I go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And we walked 2 feet inside the door and somebody went, oh, my God, it's Johnny and Tommy Scoville. And I was like, he's shopping for clothes. I was thinking, to being its late night crime, would this be a tow truck driver, AAA or line worker, telephone, cable truck would fit? Okay, all that makes sense. It absolutely does. But then we have to believe if that's the case that this person, randomly picked her out of a hat? Why pick that house, right? It's a very, very difficult thing to find them. Reflectors on packs scream child to me. They put them, Reese got recognized at Goodwill too. I love that. I used to go to Goodwill a lot with Reese. I love shopping at thrift stores. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. Tommy, do you think Porch Guy is Luke? I'm so bad at that. I'm just keeping it real. I'm so bad at that. Like, if I look at a picture of two things, Reese will go, oh, look at this. This is different. This is different. This is different. Like, I remember eating at a restaurant in Salinas, just down the street from where we live. We were at a place called the Lovin' Cousin, which is an overflow restaurant because the Lovin' Oven gets so crowded that they built a little restaurant down the street for people that can't get in. And it is nicknamed by locals the Lovin' Cousin. And I was in there with Reese, and there was some sketchy stuff going on. And I said to her, you see that person over there? I'm like, that's a pimp. I said, I promise you. And it was during a season. So sometimes the prostitutes will show up and they got a pimp there that's sort of watching them. And I said, see that? That girl just left with that guy and I'm doing all this. And then the person walked back and I go, there he is again. And she's like, that's not him. And I'm telling you, he had on the same shorts, the same kind of shirt. And I'm like, it's the same guy. She's like, the sunglasses are totally different. The shoes he had on the first time were, she's very observant. I'm not. It's not my thing. So I don't know the answer to that. A lot of people think so. However, allegedly, they have given polygraphs to these people to rule them out. And it seems odd that they may have given a polygraph to that Luke cat. And my golf shop, we always have criminals coming by and saying they lost something and try to get free stuff out of Lost and Found. Usually range finders and expensive speakers or radios. Yeah, I worked at a golf course once. And people would come in too. But back then, the big one was I left my pitching wedge. And I would say, what kind is it? And at the time, the The really big, everything was ping. All the big stuff was ping, especially beryllium. They don't make them anymore, but the beryllium copper. And they would say it's a beryllium ping. And I would get them. I'd be like, what was the loft? I can see the left eye cyst on porch guy and Dominic. Surely the FBI have pulled up. Yeah, I promise you, the FBI is not as dumb as everybody thinks. You work at Goodwill. Good. I love that. I want to tell you something. I made a living out of thrift stores for a very long time, right? I really did. I bought watches. People, if it's a Rolex, nobody's going to donate it. But people donate watches because they've never heard, of a lot of these watches, like the Rado. They'll go and hand it in, or any number of, especially older watches. Invicta makes a very modern watch. 100 years ago, Invicta watches were worth a fortune. It's a completely different brand. And people would dump them in there, and I would buy them and get them working and sell them and made a lot of money. I bought a watch that was 18 karat gold. I bought it for $6.15, sold it for 12 grand. Here in the Southwest, we are in a severe drought. I've gotten a few bloody noses recently due to the dryness. I say this a lot. When I lived in Tucson, I got bloody noses all the time. I did. I got them all the time. Takes me 20 seconds to lift my sliding door, push the bottom and inside. Who needs house keys? Yeah, it's very easy to get in that way. Do me a favor and hit the like button. There's 627 of you in here. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Then stop by, check out Chase the Heat. That's the Johnny Scoville. And for the love of God, that woman right there is my wife, Relatable Reese. Every person I've sent there has thanked me. Had any previous employees at her house been fired or had some sort of bad departure? The feds did that in the first couple of weeks. I promise you, it's one of the first things that they do. And they have polygraphed people that were willing to take them. They have had people donate DNA. When they say that we've ruled out, like they say that there's DNA found in the house that doesn't come back to anyone, they don't mean family. They mean family, the pool guy, the person that comes in to do home health care, the person that cleans the house, right? Anybody that does laundry, anyone that's been in that house, they've taken a DNA swab from. And if you say, I don't want to give up my DNA, boy, are you going to have a microscope shoved up your backside. But that is one of the things that they do right from the bat, not just to eliminate people, right? But Kelly said, my first thought about the backpack was it looked like a kid's Christmas present. Apparently, they sold in the last 5 years hundreds of thousands of those in the Tucson area. I actually looked that up. Hundreds of thousands of them. I got a real diamond ring at a yard sale for 10 cents. I can't tell you how many times it's happened. My wife might actually be wearing a watch today. I went in and it was just a beautiful watch. It was Movado and not the one you think. This is the really old when it was Didashine Brothers Movado. And I said to her, I love that. I love that watch. Look at that square watch. I'm like, I'm getting it for you. And I was in there like horse trading with watches that I had. And I had just bought another watch from him the day before. And I said, I want that one right there. And he goes, I'll give you a great deal on it. And I said, what's a great deal? He goes, I'll do $200. I said, would you do 150? He said, sure. I got in the car and I go, babe, does that say 18 karat gold? Because my eyes are really horrible. She goes, it does. I said, oh man, I haven't thanked you yet for sending me to Reese. Thank you. You are so welcome. You know what? I thank God every day that he sent me Reese. The least I can do is pass it on. Tommy, have you, you have to watch the Enton's video interview with the blonde neighbor of Nancy's. I did. So I don't go through everybody's stuff. I really don't. I don't miss Brian Enton. I don't. Brian has an inside track on this case that the rest of us will never have, right? News Nation has a entree. Like he's broadcasting from the back parking lot at the police station. Try getting in there if you're just a regular swinging dick. I promise you that isn't happening. I always watch your stuff at work. You never know what you might find. Yes. Always watch stuff. You should. It's incredible. I had a guy at the Goodwill in Northern Nevada who would call me and say, we just got a load of watches that have all been brought in. And I would go in there first and buy them. And I did really, really well there. In fact, I made a living literally off of one building for about a year. How long until Bonnie and Clyde cash in on the This Is Our Story OJ style? Interesting question. Interesting question. If multiple people involved, how might they be communicating post-crime to mitigate their connection and not to incriminate themselves? 360 guy, that's such a great question. Now, I will say this. It's probably not smart for me to answer this. However, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it anyway. So if you're a gangster and you want to communicate and not have anybody see it, you create an email address. For the sake of argument, we'll call it Trophy Wife because Jason is right. I'll call it trophywife@gmail.com, right? Or some numbers after it because I'm sure there's a bunch of those. But no, you do not exceed any weight limits and stop that. Right? Johnny Scoville said, shut up, sister-in-law. He didn't say it like that, but I'm paraphrasing. So I go into trophywife@gmail.com and I write a huge email. And instead of sending it to you, I save it as a draft. But I give you the password to the same email address. Now you go into trophywife@gmail.com and you go in and read what I put in the draft and delete it. Now you put your draft, and that's how we communicate. And because we never hit send, it's not getting onto the World Wide Web, because every email, every text message, every phone call is going to end up in Bountiful, Utah. They literally look at everything, right? But that's how you're going to do it. I mean, that is usually the way that is done. And gangsters have been doing it for a really, really long time. You do not have to be a fan of Brian Enton. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of Brian Enton. What I'm saying is he has access to places I'm not going to, even if I was in that town. I was bummed out at him walking up to the front door, but that's not Brian Enton's fault. That is the fault of Sheriff Nanos, who is an idiot. I think Maureen the Medium has some good tips about houses nearby. Stay searching, for crying out loud. Yeah, you got to keep searching. One of the reasons I continue to do shows on this, because I'm not going to lie to you, it ain't paying the way that it used to, but I don't want this to go away. Until they find her, I do not want this to go away. And look, Koberger was what, 47? Day 47, I think. A crime show host on YouTube thinks people are irrational for thinking it's Tommaso and Annie might have made Nancy disappear, and doesn't like it when guests on her show say that Nancy Guthrie is probably dead. Are you talking about Nancy Grace? Because she gets bent out of shape when people say that. I got news for you. It wasn't a problem when Nancy Grace came on in the first 24 hours and said, if they don't get her in the next 48 hours, she could die. Now we're on day 37 and she's saying, how dare you say she's dead? Nancy Guthrie, I'm sorry, is no longer with us. I would be absolutely blown out of the water. I pray for it every day. I want her to come home. I'm not being a dick. I don't take joy in this. But let's be logical. Why are you holding on to her? They're not reaching out, showing proof of life to get paid. Then why are you holding on to her? And if you say, well, it could be weird, sexual, ritualistic, you're talking about somebody with a bad heart and no medication. She's not getting through that first ritual. Not trying to be a jerk, but she's not. That's someone I don't want to watch. I'm sorry. You know what? You have no idea the hate mail I'm going to get right now, right? For saying that I guarantee you this one's dead. The amount of hate I'll get for that, but I'm not going to BS anybody. Did you see the interview on the possible fake? I did. I absolutely did. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. I always thought it was a joke on Pawn Stars how they tell people that their item is worth way more than they are asking. I doubt that has ever happened off camera. If you really want to bum out, you're about to go to Vegas, go by and look at that pawn shop. Compare it to what you saw on TV and you'll cry. Do you think that if the FBI checked on the dark web for any communication that happened, they're doing it right now? They're doing it right now. The dark web ain't as dark as it used to be, right? About the time that the Onion router, you guys are familiar with this, right? Once the Onion router came out, the dark web isn't what it used to be. The dark web used to be dark. If this is a concept you're not familiar with, think about a swimming pool full of tennis balls, right? And all of those tennis balls are a site that has something for sale on it or has some information on it. Google or any other search engine organizes all those tennis balls so that when you type in something, it goes 8 feet down, 6 feet to the left and pulls that up. The dark web is not supposed to have any search engine that's helping you find it. So you meet somebody in the right place on a message board or whatever, and they go, oh, you're looking for heroin? And they give you an address that's this long, and it's all alphanumeric. It's ones and A's and C's and sixes, and that is the address. And you had to kind of have that given to you. The Onion router, which you can download on any device now, will allow you to actually sort of use a search engine of sorts for the dark web. Don't go there. Don't go down that rabbit hole. I promise you don't want to. Did you see the lady that walked to Nancy's front door and took pictures in front of JLR? Then she walked away and got in a white SUV. I didn't, but somebody reached out to me and told me about it. I'm not surprised. I had Will, my friend, he's going to be coming on probably in the next couple of days. Will is going out there for me every couple of days, and he sends me video. And I said to him the last time he was there, I said, you should have gone live, brother. But he's going to come on. And he said to me, Tommy, I could have walked to the front door. I could have walked to the front door. They do nothing Who's my perp? My perp is until that I have a reason to believe otherwise. My perp is going to be the son-in-law and his wife. And I'm not saying he's guilty, right? Did everybody get that? I'm not saying he's guilty. What I am saying is, make no mistake. That's with the cast of characters we have. That's my favorite. That's the one that makes the most sense to me, right? I also saw a pizza delivery person go to the front door. I've seen so much crazy shit. How about the person that was from the agency that protects old people, right? Fantastic. That card was put in there after she was killed, which means no one stopped that person from walking right up and sticking that card in. This crime scene has never, ever been secured. However, we can't allow the people to go search because they'll go traipsing through crime scenes. Makes a hell of a lot of sense, doesn't it? You all right? You know, Andy and Tommaso have never come to public and said, we want these perps caught and justice. They make themselves look bad, not to blame. People say things if they don't do right. Look, a lot of people said to me, everybody responds to tragedy differently. I will 100%, absolutely 100% say, you bet. You absolutely bet. And they absolutely could be hiding from the press because that is how they deal with trauma. It is wildly unusual for people in this situation to do that. It could be that is how they deal, but I'm having a hard time believing that. Was the backpack full of plastic like Dexter used to use? If so, the perp is a forensic scientist. Well, not necessarily just a forensic scientist. Gangsters in the 80s used to say, get me the Visqueen and the shovel, right? Visqueen is just that plastic you're talking about. They didn't want to make a mess, right? So they would put plastic down before they killed somebody. That's art imitating the real world, right? Yeah. And that's been going on for a very, very long time. You're welcome, Tiffany. Maybe the girl in the black boots needed some money to buy a pair of shorts that fit. Oh, man, I love it. Let's see if we still got a photo of her up here. Because it really is a good look, isn't it? That's kind of how I want my kids, right, to show up and take photos in front of a house where a woman has been missing for over a month, right? What a good look. Classy. Nothing screams classy like I've got on Herman Munster's boots and a pair of shorts that are not big enough to make a wallet. Maybe it's me. And usually, I don't mind a little skin. Ask the Wiffle Pop. I like it when she gets naked. However, I don't think I would want. What's that? Yeah, look at the picture behind me. I love a little skin, but I don't think her pimp must be so proud. Mop man, you're a beast. Called booty shorts. I do believe those are called booty shorts. Reese says my undies have more coverage. Not all of them. Sorry, it's late, people. She loves showing her booty to the camera guy. Yeah, she's creepy, right? She's absolutely creepy. Is she wearing a postage stamp? Yes, one in the front and one in the back. Oh, poor Katy Perry. She's hawking up a fur ball, and she's really kind of young, and she hasn't quite got the fur ball thing down yet. And she's wearing a Starburst wrapper. That entire outfit is made of black electrical tape, and she only used about 6 inches of it. Hey, Tommy, the backpack may have been full of donuts. The perps may have left them for nanos. Oh, that's rich. That is so funny. Tommy, you know pimping ain't... Yeah. Yeah, that's... I'll tip my hat to pimping. I will tip my hat to pimping. However, that's just an ugly look. As my crazy aunt Jackie likes to say, her shorts are so short you can see her social security number. Oh, I'm going to use that. I promise you I'm going to use that. See, look, this joke doesn't work anymore. But back in the day, I remember my dad dropping me off at high school, and there was a girl going in with a mini skirt that she must have changed in the bus because there's no way her mother would have let her out of the house dressed like that. But my dad said to me, good Lord, if that girl's skirt was any shorter, she'd need a second hairdo. The moose was funny as hell. Wasn't he funny? It's a piece of electrical tape from the camera gear she's wearing. Yeah, what the hell's going on? Honestly. Oh, you know what? Johnny Scoville, please tell me you're watching the screen. We had a bus driver who had a little Honda. And he used to wash this little blue Honda. Like, this is long before CRXs or anything else. It was when the Civic was this big, if you remember that. Really, really teeny. Still had a choke, but he would wash it, I swear to God, every single day of the week. And it had a bumper sticker on it. It was a little different. It said, gas, grass, or ass, no one rides for free. And I had absolutely no idea what it meant, but I could read. And I remember saying to my mother, gas, grass, or ass, no one rides. What does that mean? My mother went, don't worry about it. Johnny was in the car. I don't think Johnny knew what it meant either. A couple of years later, no lie, sad but true. And this bus driver is no longer with us. His name was David. He was actually a very nice guy. But years later, I walked in to buy some weed, and he was sitting on the couch. I was about 17 at the time. And I looked at him and said, you scared the hell out of me when I was in elementary school. And he goes, man, if I had $1 for every kid that said that. He had a sign up in the bus that said, if you want the windows down and the music played, keep your feet out of the damn aisles and don't throw any trash on the floor. He was Otto from The Simpsons. I'm not kidding you. He really was. Who the hell goes and does a freaking photo shoot in front of a murder scene? Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Who does that? Is Nanos getting paid for his interviews, hence dragging out, destroying evidence? He's getting paid, but not with cash. It's a great question. But this is an egomaniac, and this is stroking the ever-loving dog crap out of his ego. Do you think law enforcement went to TC school and interviewed other teachers? You betcha. You betcha they did. However, everybody says he's fantastic, right? I told you that I spoke to someone that knows him personally, and they asked me, this is a person from Tucson, Arizona, goes to a Bible study with a family member of mine. And they said, who do you like for this? Because they've never seen my show. And I said, I like the son-in-law. I call him Neckbeard. And she said, she wasn't rude. She just went, oh, there's no chance on God's green earth. I said, no. She goes, not at all. She said, first of all, they got along so well, you wouldn't believe it. The mother-in-law and the son-in-law, and said he just loved her, took care of her. He is a teddy bear. He looks scary, but he's not. So nevertheless, everything that I'm looking at screams him. Well, pardon me for living, honey, but the graveyard was full. Nice. Nice. Caught Reese live the other night. She made me laugh so hard talking about side boob. Yes. Well, I kind of turned her. I'm a fan of side boob. I'm not afraid to say that. Tommaso is part-time sub teacher and writes books. They have no way to cover their expenses. And he also has a band, right? Here's 2 of 2. You might need to eat that lipstick so you can be pretty on the inside. You know what, Stephanie? Bless your heart. I'm sorry, but I love that expression too. I love it when people from down south say, well, bless your heart, which is usually an insult. And I think that's just absolutely awesome. Isn't that great?
I love it.
Yeah. What's that song? If you use alcohol as a sedative and bless your heart as a negative. Nanos is lying. Nanos is having a real good time. I promise you, he's having a very, very good time. You know what? You're not the first person to suggest that he might be on meth. And if he is on meth, then you have to start looking at that other cast of characters, right? Because Luke is definitely a meth dealer. He's been busted for it on multiple occasions. They look like Cracker Barrel pancakes glued under my pits. Can someone time out my wife for like an hour? If you continue to beat on yourself, I swear to God, I'm timing you out. Thank you for your attention to all of this. Love the knowledge you have. Well, thank you. I'm embarrassed of the knowledge I have. It's the fruits of a misspent youth. I wish that I could be talking to you about something far more intelligent, but I spent a lot of time as a criminal, and I'm not proud of that. Retired law enforcement, 32 years. My theory, one perp. Kidnapping was done for revenge or fetish towards one of the family members. Erotomania. Savannah, she struggled. He punched her in the stomach or face, causing internal injuries. So stay with me on this, law enforcement, because I don't know what CJ, I guess. CJ. So do you think that this person walked her out to a car that was parked away from the scene? Because that alone could have been what killed her the first night, right? I mean, if this is a person who is going to be under severe strain after walking 50 feet or 150 feet, depending on whether it's yards or feet, because it's been reported 2 different ways. You missed the side boob, you really need to catch it. But you robbed banks, not kidnapped people. You're 100% right. But I went to prison with a bunch of people that did all of the above and spent 13 years around those people. And it's like the University of Crime, unfortunately. While walking, assisting her out the front door, she was laughing. She was coughing up blood. Expirated blood stains on the stoop from coughing up blood got in her car, Drove off. She died from, got her in the car. She drove off. She died from internal injuries. I think that's logical. I do. I think that's logical. However, just personally, I think that if this was a revenge type of a thing, revenge doesn't really, hey, Card, good to see you. Normally, revenge is something that doesn't feel particularly good if the people don't know that you did it. That's kind of been my experience. And you have a lot more time in law enforcement, right, than I had. Well, about the same time we had in crime. But anytime I knew someone that wanted to take revenge, I don't see Goth Girl wanting to be around Bluebeard's band. Not enough. Not enough whips. You could be right. In my career around criminals, anytime somebody wanted to take revenge, they wanted the people to know that they did it. It's about power. Could be. Rape is. Tommy, do you think one of the perps offed the other, and that's why no one is snitching? I don't think.
Anonymous revenge.
If this is a 3-person job, there's no reason to snitch yet. It's very difficult. So when I talk about people snitching or people getting the $100,000, and my law enforcement friend can weigh in on this, but the people that were there at the scene are going to keep their mouths shut until until they have absolutely no reason to. They're not going to turn them in for the $1 million because you're not going to get paid $1 million on a crime you committed, right? So that's off the table. I think it has been. It will be somebody that is on the outskirts that know what's going on. Like very often, people who commit crime owe crap loads of money to everybody. And they say stuff like, hey, I got a big lick. I'm about to hit a lick. I got a big score coming. I'll be able to pay you back in about a week. And when that doesn't happen, they start going, I wonder what that big score was. And they start thinking about those things. Well, they could have taken her for ransom. And then, as my law enforcement friend said, they could have taken her for ransom and killed her by accident on the way to the car, right? Or killed her by accident in any number of ways. She had what's that? Yeah, her heart would have attacked her. Pissed off soldier that Cameron oversaw and maybe disciplined. Yeah, but he wasn't a foot soldier, right? He was a guy that flew jets.
100 people that are 84, you kidnapped half of the dying during the kidnapping.
Yeah, Johnny Scoville says he thinks if you were to kidnap 100 people at 84 years old with a pacemaker and then not bring their medication, most of them are going to die in the first 24 to 48 hours. The big 3 perps, Andy Tommaso and Dominic, or someone else. Well, I mean, look, the law enforcement guy makes a very solid point, truthfully. This could very well be erotomania where you're so fixated on, I mean, if you take Savannah out of this equation, then you're a fool because Savannah's the money, Savannah's the fame, right? And a lot of people are into that. Does day 37, do you think you got away with it as a criminal? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I hadn't robbed a bank in 2 years when they got me. The truth of the matter is you look over your shoulder for the rest of your life. And as stupid as this may sound, when they get you, like if you've ever watched interrogations, you'll see people sitting in the room or going like this and walking back and forth. And then you'll see people that they put in that room and they instantly fall asleep, right? Cops usually call it the perp nap because you have been stressed out. Your vagus nerve has been kicked on forever. And all of a sudden it's like, at least it's friggin' over, right? This sucks. I'm going to go away, but I don't have to look over my shoulder for the rest of my life. And there is a certain amount of relief that comes with that. Nanos hands you the case. Where would you have started investigating? If Nanos had handed me the case, the first thing I would have done was to rope off the crime scene, not let anybody anywhere near it. I would have put a car at both ends of the driveway. No one ever would have been parked across the street. And I would have combed that area all over the place. The second thing that I would have done is I would have brought Savannah Guthrie in first and say, today on the news, I want you to come out and say, I'm taking a polygraph just to get me eliminated, right? And force everyone else in the family to do that. Her actions, I would reach out to everyone else and say, we need you to come in and take a polygraph so that I can eliminate you, so that I don't have to spend 5 days at your house going through stuff. And then I would tell the world that, so all of us wouldn't be speculating about the family. Then we could start concentrating on other things. I sure as hell would have put a plane in the air looking for her day one. I wouldn't have had the guy sitting on the bench. I would have taken the front mat. I would have taken the flowers. I would have done a lot more that this guy seems to not get. I would imagine if my law enforcement friend is still watching and I haven't offended him, that can Americans moving to Ecuador bring weapons there and register them legally? Once you're a citizen, you can. You can't do it until you're a citizen, but you absolutely can have a weapon. It is a process, but you can have one. The paranoia people must have on the run from law is crazy. You're on drugs and don't think. Oh, I'll tell you something. I was on drugs, and like I said, I hadn't robbed the bank in years. But a cop would go by with the lights on, and my heart would stop. I'd have it right here in my throat, right?
Here they salute us.
Yeah, and here when the cops go by, they'll give you a salute. I get along with the police here. It's a completely different thing. I don't break the law, right? But if he handed me the case, I would do press conferences every single day. Even if you come out and say, we're working leads, we got 400 leads overnight, we had 150 new leads called in overnight, I would be putting a press conference out every single day. It pulls all of the weirdos who are parked around the house and everything else have to come in and listen to you. It's one of the reasons that you do it. And it cuts down on bullshit. When you don't tell the world anything, half of your tips that come in are friggin' ridiculous because the speculation ad nauseum, right? You could cut out a lot of that. I get chills hearing metal doors slam shut. I won't be in a building that has a metal door that slams shut. I swear to God, I won't. My legs go weak. And you probably would have looked for the pacemaker before you still wouldn't know about that sniffer. I never would have told anybody about that sniffer. I wouldn't have told anybody about the backpack. I wouldn't have told anybody about anything, right? Look at Brian Koberger. Watch the way they did the Brian Koberger thing, right? They came out and said, yeah, we don't have anybody, man. Revenge doesn't even make sense. What the hell would an 84-year-old? No. Sam Lamb. What my friend was saying is that the revenge would have been against either Savannah or someone else in the family, and they just grabbed mom as revenge to make that person hurt and the control over the family. It wouldn't be revenge against the person that they snatched. Would law enforcement be checking dark bands to see who was playing? Interesting. Very interesting. My gut says no. However, since a lot of people are starting to chase down and put all of these things together, maybe they are. They certainly should be.
We'll check who goes to the basketball games.
Yeah, he knows who's at the basketball games, though. Do sirens freak you out, Tommy? They would me. Actually, they do. Here's the thing. Like the sirens down here from the police don't bother me. But there are a couple of businesses, and every once in a while their alarms will go off, and it's always false. There's never anybody breaking in. But they sound more like a prison alarm, and they scare the crap out of me. They will get him. Pray they get Nancy back. Sheriff likes the fame. Open crime scene up, second day trying to shut the FBI out. Agree, 100%. He wanted the FBI shut out of this. Same reason that he sent the gloves to Florida instead of sending them to Quantico. He is absolutely a jackwagon. I wish CJ was handling this case. Seriously, just from the interaction that I've had with CJ already, I have way more faith in CJ than I do in Sheriff Nanos. And at 32 years, you guys have about the same amount of time in. I think he claims 50, but I don't believe anything the guy says anyway. I really don't. All right, people. I got going a little late tonight because of the power here. I'm going to end it right at the 1 hour mark because, well, I want to go look at that woman. And it really does keep me on an even keel. If I don't talk to Reese every night, I get a little cranky. Criminal 101, you deactivate the alarm or camera server once inside. A lot of people, here's one more question. A lot of people said, if you're going to go out the front door, right, why not break in the front door, go out, and then disconnect the camera while you're standing on the inside? Because I think that logically, anyone that says, I'm going to disconnect that camera is going to walk up to the front of it and pry it off. And they probably thought that by doing so, no one was going to see that ever. They weren't going to see that image ever. They weren't worried about that, or they wouldn't have done it the way they did it. No one thought that that image was ever going to come back up, and I think that's logical, especially since they weren't paying for any kind of subscription. On the way out the door, do me a favor. Stop by and check out my wife, Relatable Reese. Hit subscribe there. I would really appreciate it. Also, make sure that you also check out Chase the Heat. And while you're at it, Chef Brian has a great channel. Please check him out as well. Good Lord, it scares me when you do that. Tommy, will you be covering the Alexander brothers conviction at some point? Yes, and I have covered the Alexander brothers. I may have been one of the first people on YouTube to ever talk about them. If you go back, I've done a lot of stuff on the Alexander brothers, but it was years ago when it was first broken. And for those that don't know, that was broken through Morgan & Morgan. Somebody called up wanting to sue them, and they called Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan turned that over to the cops, and that's what broke that case, and that's what could very easily happen in Diddy. All righty, people. Between now and the next time I see you, say a prayer for Nancy Guthrie's family, please. They absolutely need it. I'm Tommy. We'll see you on the next one. God bless. Thank you for spending time with me. And thank you to everybody that donates and buys memberships. You're keeping free speech alive. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. It pisses off YouTube. Good night. See you tomorrow.